All right, we are live again. Access Road continued. Access Part 2. Access Road Part 2. We are inside this cat roller. We basically last time stripped all the topsoil off of this job site, which is more or less all there is going to be to any of these road jobs or any road extension job. Even in real life, you're basically stripping your material down to what they call a subgrade, which is going to be your native soil prior to adding material to do your project. So we are down at subgrade right now, which potentially, obviously, they don't really measure it out here, but might be 4 inches of gravel going on top of this, 6 inches maybe. And then asphalt will be laid on top of that. Of course, you compact in between each. So we're going to compact our native soil right now. The subgrade is going to be compacted prior to gravel. Gravel will go on. I'm going to go ahead and get started so we're not sitting here in a boring intro. Disabled, I guess they're going to be in there. But more or less, we're going to be compacting this one. We're going to come in with the dump truck. I rented a bigger dump truck to finish a job with because we're going to probably take quite a bit of gravel to clear this whole entire area here. Then that's all going to get compacted with the same machine, and then we're going to come in and do the asphalt over the top of it, and that's going to get compacted with a completely separate machine. Kind of just using a reference point as I go back. Basically, the right rear corner of the cab is lined up with my previous compacted row. Once we get far enough off, it disables compacting. You got to re-enable it as soon as you get back into the yellow. The yellow light, of course, in the bottom right corner shows that it's on. And as we go back forward, reference point again. Everything's about reference points in most of this equipment, especially in POV. Basically just trying to cover a quarter of the right front of that into my last compacted row to make sure that it gets all the way over. Looks can be deceiving. You end up a little past that point actually on the ground, so you end up covering exactly. I can kind of show you on an outside view here in a moment. Well, for instance, this right here, you're kind of seeing where we're lining up the right rear of the cab, that corner of it, to the last row. If you get out into outside view, we are exactly covering what we need to cover. And we'll jockey it back over to the next row. Re-engage our compacting. And then I'll show you again as I come across here as we're covering a quarter of our front roller. Outside view. We are pretty much dead on with the outside of that last row we compacted. So even though looks can be deceiving from inside, we're overshooting it a bit. We're actually right on the line. Do have the job scope set to high on all these jobs, so it's basically going to want me to cover pretty near 100% of this site before it shows me complete. 100% on compacting the subgrade. Yellow line turns to blue, showing it's complete, and it wants me to get out of the area. And as I had mentioned, very next step is going to be laying gravel on top of the subgrade, the native soil. Native as in that's what was there originally, I guess. It's your original soil, nothing you brought in or added in. Most of the time on these, I usually try and set my left rear of the body up close as I can to the left side of the job, driver's side to driver's side, because I tailgate spread most of this. And being you can only see out of this side, you can't see anything out the right rear. You basically have to set yourself up to always look at this side to do your dumping and your reference points. So we'll tip the body up just to the point of getting some material out and slowly creep forward as we bring the body up. And we're just slowly adding material and spreading it at the same time, so we hopefully have a little less spread out with the dozer. And the yellow bar is out in the bottom right corner, so we're out of material. Obviously it's not dumping anymore, which is your other telltale sign. I think gravel pit isn't all that far away on this job site. I'm gonna see about just driving there quick and reloading. And obviously auto load makes everything a little bit quicker. I guess more for viewing and entertainment. We'll just go for a quick cruise, check out the gravel pit. Anybody that's looking to buy the game and hasn't, just searching through videos, I guess you want to see as much of the game as you possibly can. I am running on PS5 controller only on PS5, of course. Not running PC and no fancy steering wheels. And I have no traffic, no pedestrians. Makes things much less aggravating. A lot of question marks that are popping up on the map here on the bottom left corner, which is basically undiscovered areas. Most of them are simple gas stations, like that one there. There are a few other places we'll discover as we go through. I started this. This is a fresh game, and I plan on doing most of this page from scratch, from job one right through smaller jobs to the bigger jobs. Go through all the campaigns, the contracts. I've got quite a few hours into this game, so I figure I'll share what information I have with it. Whoever finds it useful, so be it. Anybody that's just kind of looking for, I guess, entertainment and scrolling, it works for that as well, I guess. So this is the gravel pit. We'll jump outside view real quick. Basically, you're looking at the road signs. Above that one is asphalt. Can't transport asphalt in this truck. This is going to be your concrete. I'm quite positive. Maybe don't quote me on that, but I'm pretty sure that is concrete. And then there is all these green bins are for dumping pretty much any material. If we had soil that we had unloaded from that job site, we could back right into that green bin, unload it there, and we'd collect our money from it. And as we travel back to the back side of the gravel pit, I believe that fuel tank is usable at the end of toward the end of the game as you unlock stuff. I don't think it's usable right now. No, doesn't seem to be. So anyway, this is real quick drive-through unloading site that's more convenient than those green bins, easier to fit a truck onto rather than into. And then we are going to be looking for gravel, so these are plainly labeled. You're picking up sand, gravel, or soil. You back under whatever one you're looking to fill full of. And it says extraction above, and it's another hold. You don't just press it. You have to press and hold to get the extraction. A lot of things in this game work that way, where you've got to do the press and hold. Just looking for a yellow bar on the right side of the right bottom corner of the screen to fill up. It's full. It says construction machine is full. Jump back into POV and head back to the job site. After a little bit of cruising around on the map, you get to know the roads well enough to not GPS it every time, but it is still a handy tool. I guess the trick now is how we're backing in here. Considering I've got equipment pretty much everywhere, I think we are going to just swing wide and cut hard, and we might just have a 15-point turnaround. Stick in the POV though, and I'm going to, even though I'm only about halfway down, I'm going to set myself way back at the beginning. I'm not going to continue that road just yet. Again, keeping my left rear, driver's side rear, closest to the last row I had poured, so I can keep my view where I can see everything, I guess. Basically come down through here in the same vicinity, keep myself driving straight in line with the last row, versus if you go the other way, you can't really Can't really see as I showed before. Well, I guess you can see a little bit with the body way up. Probably going to just autofill this next run. Looks like we're going to make quite a few trips here. We're only at 26% on delivery and spreading of the gravel. So we'll fill this. I believe it does cost a little more money to autofill versus driving to the gravel pit. Just a matter of saving a little time, I guess. Seem to be thinning out here at the beginning, so we're going to want to add just a little more. Game kind of sets your speed as well when you're doing these tailgate spreads. You don't have to feather the throttle or anything. You basically, once your body's up, it's only running at 3 miles an hour until it's empty, and then your speed increases, and you can kind of shut it down from there and set your body back down. I think we got at least another row, if not two here. Probably going to try and split the difference, basically, because I am going to push most of this out with the dozer. And as you spread some of what you got built up, it kind of increases your percentage, because it's looking to deliver and spread gravel, so it's not so much looking for you to deliver the full quantity of what needs to be delivered in this area in a big pile. It wants it spread out across the whole thing as well. So right there we've got 53%, and we are basically covering half of the job site. I don't think dozing it out we're going to gain that much. It's probably just going to fill in the blanks, I guess, of where that didn't totally cover. But we'll jump into the dozer and see if we can spread some of this out a little bit. I'm going to start down on this end too, just to put some of this tracked equipment on more of a gravel road versus running across the asphalt. Obviously in a game it doesn't affect anything, but in real life you try and stay off the asphalt. The tracked equipment tends to do plenty of damage. We'll drop the blade down just enough where we're kind of grazing into the gravel. Tracking real slow with R2 and L2 here. I'm watching basically my blades enough to see if I'm pushing gravel and making sure that I'm not pushing any dirt as well. As you can see, that brought me, I think, from 52 to 55 is all I really get out of that. %, so we are gaining a little bit as it flattens out, but we still got a lot of material to add to get ourselves to that 100% mark. I'm going to go ahead and at least push out this one last section here. And pretty well levels out our few rows we made at 63%, so we kind of gained 10% by at least just flattening it out. I could get a little picky here. You can kind of track pack some of the smaller stuff. Had a little bump there on the edge. Without even putting my dozer blade down, flattens it right out. So I think being 63% done, I am going to park this thing up here and add a little bit more in the back, just because we don't really want to come back over the top of what we've already worked if we don't have to. So we'll just add what we need to now. Make sure I'm not going to back into anything here. Set the blade down. I have mentioned before, I always set the blades down, buckets down. It's a general rule of thumb, at least in the area I'm from. Usually there is, obviously, OSHA. Vermont has VOSHA. And I believe they come around and hand out fines for people who leave buckets up for obviously safety reasons. One, if hydraulics give out, your bucket or your blade or anything can drop down at any moment. And, on top of somebody, I guess, walking into it. You know, if you got a bucket up to an excavator and somebody's walking across the job site and I can catch your forehead into a bucket that's floating up in the air 5 feet, I guess it could be a safety issue. I think the bigger safety issue out of anything, though, is your hydraulics giving out. So I'm kind of just piling the dirt here versus tailgate spreading, just because I need quite a bit of material at the end to spread out that last little square and cut that in, and then we'll kind of tailgate spread back up through the center of where it missed, so when we push out our second time, we fill in those areas. So I think we got enough material on the backside there to spread out. Pretty confident in that. So I'm going to start with spreading some material back up through to meet up with the asphalt. I'm going to try and time it where I'm not pouring onto the asphalt and not leaving a huge lump of material. Can back drag a little bit, but I guess we'll go heavy here at the separation. Just go full bed up. Keep an eye on where the road is. Try and stay along that yellow line. About halfway on my bed. And we're going to start coming down. I've got a little bit of material left in there, but I'm going to fill up again just so I've got a full dump body. I'm going to try and get these a little closer together this time, so maybe we won't have the big gap. These road jobs are certainly some of the more boring jobs, I think, of the construction industry, construction simulator. There's really not much to it. You basically every time are going to take your road down. Oops, I guess we're coming into nighttime. Let's turn some lights on here. You're always going to scrape your native soil down just to the point of lacking essentially what material you're going to add back in. So like we discussed earlier, if you're going to add 6 inches of gravel and 4 inches of asphalt, you've got a total of 10 inches, so you're going to scrape your job site down 10 inches. native soil, subgrade, it's compacted, you add gravel. Obviously, in real life, you would add some sort of road fabric. I guess we're at 100%. I didn't realize that went that quick. Well, as you can see, we didn't have to level any of that. I just drove off the job site, and it kind of bumped us to the next level. But as I was saying, you get your 6 inches of gravel, and then you get your 4 inches of asphalt, brings you back up to grade. So we have got to jump back into the same compactor we were in before to compact the subgrade. And you can kind of see we are getting quite a bit closer to where this grass is versus the hole we had in here before. And once we put asphalt back in, it'll match right up to the asphalt that's there. I gotta find where I put this roller. Plenty of lights on these machines in the game. It's a little bit weird to work with at first, but you kind of find that with the lighting of the game in the daytime, sometimes it's easier to work under the lights than it is with shadows. So I haven't started compacting yet. I'm just getting myself lined up. I'm going to get up to the point of the road. I don't want to go too far. I won't start compacting. We are in compacting, and I'll just set my reference point of that right rear corner again, right down through the yellow line. I believe we can check the job description here at some point, but I think the next step on this is going to be laying asphalt, which will be the final step of the project. I probably will end up wrapping up this live. It's a little bit shorter than some. I'm hoping to get about an hour and a half live every time I do this. Going live on Twitch for now, uploading these to YouTube. Trying to do a bunch of YouTube shorts and see if I can get a little something going with it. I'm going to try and keep my lives to an hour and a half, like I said, but I just got started on this a little bit late tonight, so being this job is fairly simple, straightforward, easy to figure out. I think a lot of what I'm going to try and do on here is help people who enjoy this game enough to play it but aren't really sure what to do in the construction industry. Not that I'm a professional, but I've mentioned before I've got a couple of years under my belt construction. Enough to know the basics, played this game enough to get what they're getting at with the basics in mind. Just running through steps of a regular job in construction. But anyway, people that enjoy playing this but aren't sure of the steps, kind of better explaining not just the steps, but the best way to position your equipment, best way to work your job site. Say if you're excavating, digging a hole, working yourself from one end back to the other side without kind of having to jump back into the hole and redo something, or get yourself in a situation where you're having to reset your equipment back to the road all the time to finish the job. Makes everything a little bit more efficient. But it seems we are done compacting the gravel. Compacting is off. We're going to go ahead and park this because I know, well, not because I know, because you never want to assume anything. But if we go here real quick to jobs and click on our access road, we're on road construction, which is asphalty area on the construction site, and then compact it. Once you're done that, it's debriefing. The job is done. So I know with that I no longer need this. So to save myself a little bit of money, I'm going to return my dozer. It's a rental. And I'm going to return my... Apparently I bought that roller, so I'm not going to return that. I am going to return the dump truck, because I'm no longer going to be transporting material. I'm going to keep the excavator around just because you never know. I guess it's not going to be needed in this job. Sometimes there's things that you pick up toward the end of a job or reload where the excavator is handy to keep on a job site until the very end just to reload stuff. But we're obviously not going to be loading anything once we put asphalt down and compact it. This job's going to be wrapped up, and I'll start my next live with the equipment already on the job site ready to go. So let's go ahead and hop into the asphalt machine. Still quite early in the game, so I don't have there is a specific dump truck for putting asphalt into these, so I'll get into that in a later, I don't know, episode, I guess, per se. But before I jump into the POV, basically you get into your menu, fill up. It fills your front hopper full of asphalt without having to dump any in. Just like auto load works with a dump truck, I suppose. Same deal. So we get into POV. Turn some lights on. I don't know if that made anything any better. Warning lights. Well, we're going to go with it. So basically, we can look either way on this, but potentially this left rear is going to be closer to us and easier to keep an eye on from POV. We'll get out and kind of set ourselves up on the road and then back up before we kick our asphalt on. But you have screeds that need to come out first. So let me turn around so we can see these come out. You know what? I'm going to jump to morning just so it's daylight and we can easily see what I'm talking about instead of doing it in the dark. So once again, we're back to the screeds. Go to extend that paving screed, and you're going to watch these arms come out. That does that on both sides. Oops, nope, not that. Paving screeds in and out. So once we're in POV and they are out, we are pretty much set up for paving, but we want to get the outside of that screed lined up with the outside of our gravel, which takes a little bit of jockeying. So we're basically where we want to be right there. It is pretty picky about starting asphalt right on the road. If you're just before it or just off of it anyway, it tells you that it can't start asphalt. So we're going to turn it on. Seems to be turning yellow. It's dropping down. Everything's engaging. We know we're on the edge. We can't just continue to watch this back here. We're going to have no idea where we're going in front of us. So, and asphalting has been disabled. Try and re-enable it. Disabled. Alright, so we're going to try and set a reference point and basically make a straight shot forward. So It's really your choice. I'm kind of looking at the left side of the dashboard right now. Is pretty much lined up with the edge of the road. So as long as I can follow that left side of the dashboard or the left side of the road, I'll be straight. You can pretty much gap your measurement from the left side of the road to any point on the left side of the machine and use that as your reference point. You've just got to keep that approximate measurement the same all the way down through as you track. These pavers track just like a excavator or a dozer would. On PlayStation 5, it's going to be R2 and L2, and you kind of just play each one left and right, barely touching them enough to keep things slow and steady and straight. And we're going to carry this hopefully to the point of touching the asphalt. It looks like we are running low on asphalt. I don't know if we're going to make it. Keep an eye on your yellow bar on the bottom right corner. That's your hopper. We are basically out right there. I'm not going to run completely out because if you do, it creates a gap. So we'll refill right now. Yellow marker's still on, so we know our paver's still on. And we'll continue forward for just a little bit further here. Basically looking to tie asphalt to asphalt. Bingo, right there, we've covered. So we'll lift that back out, keep the screeds out for now. And try to not track across the fresh asphalt as much as we can, but back out here into the corner, and we've got the benefit of backing all the way down. So you want to start lining your screeds up as you're backing down. We know right there is going to cover everything, and I can pretty much take off straight from right there. Turn our warning lights on so we, warn all the neighbors. Rotating lights. Bingo. Okay. Back into paving. We know our hopper's full. And I'm going to use that black bar there in the front as my reference point this time. And just carry that right up the previous line of where I went last time, which is a little bit jockeyed back and forth, but I wasn't keeping an eye on my hopper. I did miss the center a little bit, which we can come back through and do. I'm not sure if it totally registered that I ran out, so I'm going to go ahead and fill back up now. We're still in paving mode. Keep it straight as we can and try and just tie this back into the asphalt like we did last time. So we'll bring the paver up, and now we're kind of at a point where we don't need these screeds out. It's basically their screeds are how far it's carrying the asphalt outside of the machine. Like you're carrying asphalt all the way out into the square, and when the screeds are in, you're only carrying it as wide as the machine. So we'll bring the screeds back in. I'm going to go ahead and, well, I don't know. I guess we'll start with this edge because I seem to have missed quite a bit off the edge. We're at 88%, so we certainly don't have a huge amount. We can also go into the construction view, which is holding triangle on PlayStation. And that'll lay your whole job site out where you can see it's showing us red is obviously there's no asphalt there. Yellow is where the asphalt is and should be. So you can see the red is where we're missing asphalt, and it'll show green once we're completely 100% compacted. But we haven't even started compaction yet, so it's still not showing any greens. So I'm going to go ahead and turn asphalting back on without my screeds. Maybe. This is where I say it's a little picky. I may have better luck pulling my screeds back out and just letting them do the overhang work. Just because the game, I think, likes to see the paver inside the job site as you're doing it. Boy almighty. Okay. Now we're down, we're well over the job, so I know we're going to cover enough. We're going to keep the front yellow part of that in line with the asphalt. Should clean our edge up. We're still maybe lacking a little bit of it, but we're pretty much tied in. Bring that back up, and we're going to bring the screeds in for the center. Obviously, I'll register within the job site sitting center, but we got this whole strip in the middle down here that we got to get. And of course, you don't really need much of a reference point for this other than just pulling it center or finding the center of the belly of the hopper. Keeping what I missed there dead center. Not using a whole lot of material because it's not dumping material all over again. It's only dumping it in the low spots, and the screeds kind of level off where you're at and only fill those low spots in. Not just in the game, in real life, that's also the way they work. So we got most of that there. We'll bring our paver back up, and hopefully, well, there's still a little bit on the other edge. So this, we can't really see that right rear very well, but we're going to go ahead and get ourselves over just far enough where when I bring the screeds back out, I know I'm going to cover everything I need to cover. And there's 100%. You kind of see the asphalt jumped out on its own. As we hit the 100% mark, we'll bring our screeds back in, paver back up, and that'll complete the paving. So we're going to go ahead and set this up here on the old asphalt. And we can jump into the other roller. There is a separate roller for asphalt rolling versus soil. That's the soil compactor. Compactor roller, one and the same. And this is going to be the asphalt roller. A little bit of a thinner stance, I guess. So it takes a few more passes on this. But it is we're at 84% of the job. We are compacting this out and debriefing. We are essentially just about done this job. So we're going to have front and rear rollers up on the pavement in order to engage us. That's one of the main differences, I guess. Maybe not. Yeah, well, yeah. On an asphalt roller versus a soil, you got one roller on the front of that with tires on the back. Versus these here, you've got roller front and rear. It takes a little bit more to roll asphalt. So kind of, again, picking a reference point. I've run these enough. I usually run CAT equipment on here. I've run these enough where I know my reference points already. It takes a little bit of getting used to just checking a reference point and then getting into the outside view and checking to see where you're at and make sure you're covering what you want to cover. But basically on that black plastic cover on the front, that first rib in, gets you where you want to be. And then you spin it back around, and your same plastic rib on the back, you run that right down just like you're painting a line from the rolled stuff to the unrolled stuff. Paint your line right down through that rib. Best you can. Nobody's perfect. If we get a couple more passes down through here, we'll pretty much be where we want to be. We're going to have to come back and touch up these spots. Like I said, job scope is on high on all these jobs, so they look to have you complete every bit of the surface, not just 75% of it. I think the job scope changes a few things. Changes the amount of money you make per phase in the job. The job overall, you make more money for a higher job scope. You can set it high, medium, and low. But I think another one of the things that it does change that I've noticed is how much of the job it likes you to complete before it advances you to the next stage. If we were on job scope low, we would probably already be at 100%. It would advance us to the next stage, and we haven't even got all of this rolled out. So, and I disabled. It's a little hard because you got to spin yourself back and forth and get lined up for the next row to compact, but it seems to disable your compacting, which isn't totally inaccurate. Usually, when you're compacting in real life, you get to the end of your spot and you disable your compacting because you don't really want to stop or reverse while compacting, because you'll continue to just vibrate the rollers right into the ground and create kind of an indent. Whoa. Definitely going to have both rollers on the asphalt to do that. Seem to obviously still be missing 15% of our compacting here somewhere. Maybe some sort of an update with Construction Simulator. It seemed before, once you rolled over it once, it was green. Now I'm having to roll this more than once. Kind of see some of the high spots in it as you go here, so it's obvious where we need to do it still. I just don't recall the game being that picky on your asphalt rolling. I seem to have four high spots down through here, which I would assume are going to be in between where I had rolled the first time. Getting a little bit closer here. We're within 5%. Seems to be dragging out a little bit. Just referencing back to that construction screen. You can still see the lifts in the asphalt where we need to go, but you can match them up by going into that construction screen and just seeing the yellow lines, put them dead center. Oh, and we are at 100%. Everything just changed to green while I was in there. So we'll shut our compacting off. Go ahead and drive this right up to the paver, because those are both rental machines. We're going to go back. We'll continue to buy most of this stuff as we progress through jobs, make more money. This job's going to be paying $3 million, so I should go into the next job with quite a bit more equipment owned. Of course, this job does pay $3 million overall, but they pay it out through your phases, so you kind of see it like that. The end phase paid $136,800. And every phase prior to this is paid a certain amount, working up toward that $3 million. And I think as you speak to the investor here and finish a job completely, they pay you the rest of it, which is
not a bad start. Now we can finally begin on the actual project, building my exclusive hotel for the sophisticated visitors that this city so desperately needs. So, less talking and more doing. Let's make an appointment to inspect the construction site as soon as possible. Talk to you soon.
all right. So that job is complete, tied in the asphalt to the rest of it, and it seems to have opened up the road all the rest of the way where it was dirt here. We look like we paved a mile, even though we only paved 800 feet or so. But anyway, that opens that road up, accessible. Most all my equipment will go back to the shop. The rental equipment will go back to the vehicle dealer, and I'm going to go ahead and fire up another live here and get into another job. So we will be back very shortly.